Paras,
Nice to me. Yeah.
one for 1 of 5. This is not unfamiliar situation for you. You
Yeah.
have been there, and done that, and actually done better. In one season, you went on to qualify for playoffs. One season, you won the title. But this season, what is the actual panic station hai kuch? Or secondly, Hardik Pandya last time said that tough calls are to be taken. What can be the tough calls?
I think, to be honest, as you mentioned, that unfamiliar for us. Yeah, but you don't want to be in this position every time. So something that we need to work on. Tough calls in terms of what Hardik mentioned. I think I'm going to leave that conversation to the head coach and Hardik to kind of have that chat just before the game. But yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that we are in this situation, okay? And to be honest, we are the only people as a unit that we need to work together and come out of this. I can assure you that we are working on it. There is no such panic in the team. It's a tough format. You're going to play tough opponents. If you don't turn up and play your best cricket, you're not going to win. That's the fact. So for us to look back at what we're doing is looking into situations in which department, which areas that we can consistently improve. And I think that's the way we are looking at it. For path for us is ahead, and we only can learn from what's gone by in the last 5 games. But yeah, there's a long tournament ahead of us, and as like if I say like any other team, we are here to win it. So our progress, our efforts are all in that direction.
Updates on Rohit Sharma and Mitchell Santner?
Both of it. In fact, just if you're just walking by the nets out here, if you just look at Rohit's batting. So yeah, he's working on it. Santner is fit. So unluckily, we missed him in the last game, picked up a bug, not something that we could do, but both are fit, yeah.
Last match, GT person who came here said that we will play against KKR. They're talking about that their strength is spin. We will play pace. That is our strength.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
They are playing with their strength. They have bowling department. They have a very strong pace attack. They also
Right.
have a good spinners.
Right.
Okay. Worry for Mumbai Indians is neither their pace, the new ball bowlers are performing, or the spinners is a problem. Santner wasn't fit. Makaran is not kind of performing as expected. So, Makarande, sorry. So, how do you kind of look at it?
I think, as I mentioned, I think it's important that look back at obviously ideal scenario. We would want our best players on the ground, but sometimes in terms of Mitch wasn't available. So that's a reality. We need to deal with it. Also, the fact that if you look into the squad, there are other great options that we have, and that's one of the reasons why we went in building the squad. We feel that there's enough resources that we can work around, even though yes, Mike didn't have a great game so far, but if you look back in the way he's performed throughout the season in the domestic cricket, and that's one of the reasons we picked him. But yeah, I think most important bit for us out here is trusting that individual. I think if in the squad for us, we always feel that he's good enough to represent any opportunity given. And I think we have, in fact, Mayank is there, we have Raghu out here, skillful guys in the team, and I feel they're good enough to represent, given an opportunity. The preparation has been good for everyone. I thought everyone's been working hard in the nets, looking forward for that opportunity. So we'll see how it goes, looking at the combination. Sorry, change in the? Honestly, I think, as I said, that's not something in my domain. I think that's very much what for the team management in terms of Mahela, Hardik and other senior guys. got a game tomorrow, so we still got good 24 hours for us to look back and say, in terms of looking at the combination, the surface, and I think that call will be taken by them.
Paras, after the last match against Punjab Kings, Mahela said Bill Jacks was on the way.
Yeah.
So where has he reached?
He's on it. He's there.
Is he part of the team now? Squad?
Sorry?
Is he part of the squad now?
Yeah, he's arriving. He should be here. He's already arriving out here. Not for this game, but he'll be joining the squad soon. So you will see him in the squad. You will see him in the squad practicing with us in the coming games.
Is he in India now? No.
Yeah,
He's
he is. Yeah.
Sir. Hi, Somin from Star Sports. Paras, would you be able to pinpoint a few things or the parameters that have not worked on the bowling front as such? Because it's not often that we see that the breakthroughs are awaited, maybe the field placements are not up to the mark at times as expected. So what is it that needs to be set right immediately on the bowling front?
I think in terms of, if you see this tournament going throughout the pattern that's come through this tournament, is there will only be a couple of games that have been played where teams have picked up more than 3 or 4 wickets. Just a handful of games. I can remember RR or the SRH game. Other than that, it's always going to be, always I've seen that the pattern, the bat is coming hard. It's difficult picking wickets. Also the fact the challenge is you no longer have the dimensions, different dimensions the team play through, that matters really. The surface matters also. So I think it's always been a challenging for us in terms of the venue that we play on, okay? It's never been a low scoring game. 200 is par, 190. Now you've seen scores beyond 240, 250s out here. So the bowler is always under pressure. We need to, as a bowling unit, look at options of how do we cut down on realistically. I think if you look back, you're never going to get a game at Wankhede which is 130, 150, 160. That's right. So we expect around 200. So the margins out here is the discussion out here, how do we minimize those 10, 15 runs, being smart about, as you rightly mentioned, about the field placement, the ball options. So those kind of options, we are looking at that. We're having a chat as a bowling unit. So where do we individually look at one ball that we could avoid and maybe cut down the total in 10, 15 runs. So yeah, that conversation is going on. Every team has different dynamics, different approaches. And I think the team that does well, which adapts. So I think that's one thing that we are always looking at. How do we adapt to different teams, different scenarios, different venues, and kind of get the grasp of what the wicket is and a pass score that we would be happy with end of the first session in case we are bowling.
How challenging it is, to have conversation with someone like Jasprit, who has gone wicketless throughout the tournament?
I don't think it's challenging. If you're honest, I think I'm sure you know Jasu Bum's like as good as I have. He's a fighter. He's there. He knows a lot. Depends on the team as far as the player or the bowling unit, and he's fighting his way through. So what's important for me is, yeah, I think everything can't be related to just the wickets. He bowls at the different stages of the game. Many a times the roles that he comes in plays a very different role for us, in terms of finishing the power plays, that kind of stuff. For me, most important bit is how he turns up for the practice, every practice session. You saw him yesterday, came with the same intensity, did the stuff that is expected out of him, and just the preparation going ahead. So for me, I have no doubt, I'm sure others will in the team as well, in terms of the captain, the coach, and all the management, have no doubt in terms of that performance may translate into wickets in future games. But very happy with the way he's turned up, and also not only the skill bit, it is the conversations that he's had with the others. I think that really adds a lot of value for us.
Do you have any idea what kind of surface you're going to get? Because there are so many options here. You have black soil, you have red soil, you have mixed soil. So what you're going to get, any idea?
I think I'm not going to get a red soil for sure. So other than it's a guesswork for us, surely not a red soil. I don't think... It's always been a black soil out here. It's always been predominantly a black soil. We played last year on a black soil, never been on a red soil. So I'm assuming it's going to be a black soil. But as you said, it completely depends on what kind of a strategy they go in with. But we are assuming it may be a black soil.
One team has a choice of what wicket they want.
It's a combination. It's the wickets they have, 2 or 3. So in terms of the BCCI's representative, the groundsmen and the curators have a chat. But I'm assuming it's going to be a black soil out here. So